Hey guys, so I'm sharing with you my homemade Belgian waffle recipe. This is my absolute favorite Belgian waffle recipe, my absolute favorite waffle recipe actually. I'm not a huge waffle person, I prefer pancakes, but this is like a sponge cake with a crunchy outside. It is so good, it is delicious. Let's just get into the recipe. I have 2 sticks of unsalted butter here. I'm just going to go ahead and pop that in the microwave and get that melted. And in a bowl here I have a sift and I have my dry ingredients. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 3 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm also going to go ahead and add in about a pinch of salt, about 1/8 of a teaspoon or so. And we're just going to go ahead and sift our dry ingredients. I will have all the amounts in the description box for you. So my 2 sticks, which is 1 cup of unsalted butter, is nice and mostly melted. That will do. We're going to go ahead and add in some vanilla. We want about a good tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of vanilla. We want that flavor and it's going to be good. So add that in and we're going to give this a gentle mix. And now to our butter and vanilla, we're going to add in some brown sugar. We're just going to go ahead and mix that sugar and butter together for about 30 seconds to a minute. My butter is still a little warm. And now we're going to move over to our eggs. I'm using 3 large eggs that we're going to separate, and we're going to make sure and have a clean bowl on one side, and I'm going to add the egg yolks to my butter and sugar. Now we're going to be foaming up and stiffening our egg whites. So one of the most important tips for me, and that I can give to you when making stiff peaks in your egg whites, is to just make sure that you have a clean bowl. And there goes my first egg yolk into my butter and sugar. And make sure you have a clean, dry bowl and just try and not get any of the yolk in with the white. And it's that simple. You really don't need any extra ingredients to make good stiff peaks, but I'm just going to go ahead and separate my eggs here. I'm using 3 large eggs. I'll try and not get any of that yolk in the whites. And we're going to go ahead and mix together our yolks with our butter and our sugar. Those yolks are going to help thicken up the butter and the sugar, and it's going to become really nice and thick. So mix it for about a minute. And it's really going to become this kind of like a custard looking goodness. Thick and velvety, creamy, good. Alrighty, so I've mixed that in for about a good minute. Now we're going to move over to our egg whites. I just have my egg whites in this bowl here. I'm not adding any salt. I'm not adding any cream or tartar. You really don't need any of those things to make good stiff peaks. I know some people really stress on those things, but you really don't. All I have here is a clean bowl and my egg whites. So incredibly grateful and blessed for the recipes like this. All I'm going to do now, guys, is just whisk this for about 2 minutes until stiff peaks. Medium speed, low to medium speed, and as you can see, it's already foaming up nice. So after about 2 minutes of mixing, you can start to see that it is starting to get stiff peaks. Now what I like to do and what I highly recommend is when you reach that point where you take your mixer off and you can see the stiff peaks, if it starts to fall over on itself, then it's not there yet. You need to mix it for about another minute or so. But you can see that it's standing up nice and tall. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and mix again for another 30 seconds or so. Usually what happens is at the bottom of your egg whites, even though you have stiff peaks, the bottom usually has a little bit of runny egg white still, and that will prevent it from being perfectly stiff. So I like to take an extra 30 seconds when I reach this stage of stiff peaks. I like to take an extra 30 seconds to mix it again. So I'm just going to mix it again for another 30 seconds, and that's going to ensure that you have the perfect stiff peaks for your egg whites. It's really simple. It's just egg whites, a mixer, and a bowl you need. And that's it. But just that little tip for you. Alright, so after that extra 30 seconds, now my peaks are going to be perfect. And as you can see here, I'm trying to get this off of my mixer. And this doesn't even want to come off. It is like a thick marshmallow fluff. It is perfect. So now I'm just going to go ahead and set this aside, and we're going to get back our dry ingredients, which is our flour, baking powder, and salt. You can also add cinnamon to this if you'd like, some ground nutmeg, flavor it however you'd like. I'm just going to give that a little toss with my spatula here. And I'm going to go ahead and add in my butter, brown sugar, and egg yolks. I'm going to give this a gentle mix until it starts to look kind of like cookie dough. Just until mostly incorporated. And then we're going to add in our whole milk. We're going to be using 1 cup of whole milk. I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. And just start to slowly incorporate that together. If there are some lumps, don't worry about it. It'll work out perfectly. Mix it until it's thoroughly combined, and then we're going to add in half of our egg whites. Okay, that looks good. We're going to go ahead and add in about half of our egg whites that we mixed up. And as you can see, when you really mix your egg whites really well, they should not even be moving. So even though I have it in my bowl there, I can tap, tap, tap my bowl and it still won't move. I'm just going to go ahead and fold in my eggs, starting from the center, going around the sides, and then back around the center, folding my egg whites into my batter. When I've mostly folded in that first half, I'm going to add in the remaining half. You don't have to be perfect with your folding, you just really want to incorporate it without completely deflating it. And when you're finished mixing this in, you can make any variation of waffle that you want. There are times that I'll portion this out and make some blueberry, chocolate chips, you can do strawberry, you can do whatever you want. However, I am doing pearl sugar, and this is absolutely my favorite way to have it. So that looks absolutely perfect and beautiful. We're going to let this sit while we preheat our waffle maker. Now, depending on whatever waffle maker that you're using, you just want to follow their guidelines and go as in whatever color of waffle that you want. If you want it darker, if you want it lighter. I like mine with a nice crunch on the outside because this waffle kind of reminds me like of a sponge cake. It's super spongy and soft on the inside, but the outside is crispity, crunchy good, and it is so good. So I do like it to be more on the darker side. So we're going to just let that sit there, let that preheat, let that dough rest. And again, you can portion this out and make whatever you want. Now this may look like a lot of batter, but it's actually just going to give you about 6 to 8 Belgian waffles because it is quite thick and big waffles. What I love to do, and what I'm actually doing with this recipe, is making this batch and placing it, after it's completely cooled, placing it in the freezer in a Ziploc bag, and then we have homemade waffles ready to pop in the toaster to go. These are so much better when toasted, by the way. Just a quick hint. Even if you make them that same day and you're serving it that same day, I recommend popping them in the toaster for about 30 seconds. It is so good. And now that it is preheated, my green light is on, it's ready to go. This is the Belgian pearl sugar. You can find this on Amazon. I'm not sure if you can find it in your grocery stores. They usually don't sell them, but definitely check Amazon if you have that. I'm going to go ahead and add some of this to my entire batter because I'm just making one batch of pearl sugar waffles today. And my little ones love that little extra bite of sugar. I know it's a little bit much, but it's just once in a while. It's a special little treat. And I recommend about 3/4 cup of batter in your waffle maker. Kind of spread it around to make sure that all sides are even. You can do about 3/4 cup to a cup. I find that a cup kind of causes a little bit of spillage out the sides, but you know what? You still got your waffle. When you see a lot of steam escaping, that means there's still a lot of moisture in your waffle. So even though I see a lot of steam and mine is nice and golden brown, just how I like it, I'm still going to let it go for another 30 seconds or so until I don't really see much steam. Now I am using, my waffle iron is a non-stick, so anytime you're using a non-stick, just use wooden or rubber or silicone, whatever utensils that you have. I'm using a spatula here that is heat proof as well as a wooden chopstick. It's just the easiest way I found to do it. It's still going to be hot, so be careful. And I'm just going to continue making my waffles. I love to serve this with some, maple syrup, pancake syrup. You can use fresh fruits on top, whipped cream on top, you name it. And I'm just going to continue this up. These are so good. I'm not a huge waffle person, but definitely are my favorite. I will choose these over pancakes because they're so good. The outside is crispy crunchy. The inside is like a little sponge cake. You can add some orange zest to this as well if you like orange sponge cake. And that's it. Enjoy. Now, I wanted to share a quick tip with you guys in order to clean your waffle maker. Most of them do not have removable, like the grates for it. So what I like to do is take my wooden chopstick, and while it's warm, not totally hot, but while it's still warm, I take a wet cloth with my chopstick, around my chopstick, and I go through the edges and the grates, just like so, just to clean out any extra. Especially if you're using pearl sugar, it can tend to get in there and stick and caramelize. So that's it for this recipe, guys. I will have all the amounts listed below in the description box for you. I hope that you enjoy them. These are so much better. If you let them sit for like 20-30 minutes so those flavors kind of come together after you've made them, so much better. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this recipe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Serve it whatever you like, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.